Mr. Eggplant presents.
Hey guys, Tyler here, and thank you for checking out this video. And we are finally on the beta, so this is going to be my first beta video for The War Within, which will be the next expansion here for World of Warcraft. And we're of course going to be talking about my favorite class and spec combination in the game, which is Marksmanship Hunter. So I'm going to split these videos up a little bit differently. That way we can kind of talk in depth about a lot of the changes that we saw, because our trees there's a lot of stuff that got moved around, removed, that sort of thing. So this video is going to be all about the Hunter General side of the tree, otherwise known as the left side. Then I'll have another video that will be talking about the Marksman side of the tree and those changes. And then I'll have a third video, most likely, talking about different builds, like for single target or like a raiding build or an AoE build for Mythic Plus, and then how that would kind of affect your, or how your tier, I should say, would affect the node choices. There we go. Shouldn't record this late in the evening. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great time in the off season, so to speak, for season 4 for Dragonflight, and I hope you guys get into the beta, or if you don't get into the beta, please leave me comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. This is a living, breathing thing. Like nothing is set in stone. Things will change. My choices will be wrong. It's totally fine. But this is the kind of builds that I would be looking for, and my thoughts on the left side of the tree, the Hunter generalized side of our trees. So we automatically get that kill shot to start off, that we just get that point just like normal, where in the other previous iterations for Dragonflight, for example, each spec got something a little different, like kill command was up here, that sort of thing. So we get kill shot to start off, and they've moved things around pretty significantly and made a lot of things that were 2 points into 1 points, which I appreciate. It allows us a lot more utility in our builds, and allows us to pick a lot more fun things that's going to help our group, or at least keep us alive a little bit longer. So that is something that I definitely welcome and appreciate. So starting off, so natural mending, that's kind of a gimme. That's something that whittles the cooldown of exhilaration down every time you spend focus. It's actually every time you spend 10 focus, which is pretty good, actually. Natural mending, definitely want to pick that. And then you're going to pick your post haste. This is just something you want in general. I guess you don't have to, but you would miss out on having that Hunter's Avoidance, which is basically 6% baked into our build tertiary stat avoidance, and it does stack on that as well, so that's something that's pretty nice. They moved Rejuvenating Wind up here, which increases our max health pool and increases I should say, it puts the hot on us after we use our exhilaration. Always a good point, so we're going to pick both of those. And then we're going to improve that kill shot, because why wouldn't we? Increases that critical strike damage, which we're going to be critting a lot, since that's kind of how our build works. You guys, if you guys are familiar, or maybe even not, and you're new to the spec, True Shot increases your crit chance thanks to Unerring Vision, which will be for another video for another day. But there's a ton of ways to increase your crit chance. Let's see here. That's damage. They move that around. I'm still getting used to everything. Here we go. Night Hunter over here on the side. So there's a bunch of ways that you can naturally increase the damage of your main abilities, but also the crit chance of them. So stick to the program, Tyler. We're over here. So we have 26 points left to spend, and once we get to the bottom, you're going to see there's a lot of flex points, which is something that I do really appreciate. So thank you for that. This first iteration, Blizzard, is not too bad. So here, my goal whenever I go to build a build, whether it's either side of the tree in Dragonflight, here in War Within, I try to go for what is my node. So over here, it's going to be True Shot. Where here, my first pick, I want to get to Death Chakram. That is my goal, and then I'll start spending points after I get down to it. So we've already spent 5 points up here. They're pretty much gimme picks. Wilderness Medicine, no, because we're not going to run a pet most likely. Although they did nerf Lone Wolf over here, it's only 5% instead of 10%. I don't want to run with a pet though, most likely. So because of that, probably never going to pick this one. Although if you do run a pet, mastery isn't as big of a deal, so you do want to keep that in mind. But that one, probably not. So tar trap, just in general, because you need to pick tar trap or you need to pick wilderness medicine to get one of your defensives, which is survival of the fittest. So because of that, you're going to pick one of those. It's going to be tar trap, and then that'll allow you to pick your survival of the fittest, and we have to spend one more point at the top of the tree here to get down to the next portion. So for that, it's probably going to be your counter shot. That way you have your interrupt. From here, we can go ahead and start spending points, but we are going to come back up here and revisit this. You know what? What the heck? We'll do it now. So these other options here are trank shot or concussive shot. They're both very situational. You basically need to pick one of those to get misdirect. Now, if you're in a raid, maybe you don't have to misdirect your tank, but you have so many free points in this build right now, you might as well go ahead and pick one of those. And for this video, and for what I would do normally in the War Within, regardless of kind of how it turns out, I'll probably pick Trick Shot there, and then that'll allow me to pick Misdirect. I have 10 points that I need to spend till I can get down to this very bottom part of the tree, and we have an ability, it's brand new, called Padded Armor. It gives you another charge of Survival of the Fittest. So basically, it gives us another defensive. Marksman definitely needed more defensives, and this fits the bill pretty well. And now we're going to double down on this. This is something that's returning from Dragonflight, which is called Lone Survivor. It reduces the cooldown of your Survival of the Fittest by 30 seconds and increases its duration by 2 seconds. It also reduces the cooldown of your interrupt, so it goes from a 24-second to a 22. It's not a huge difference, but every little bit helps, that's for sure. And I will say as well, Survival of the Fittest technically did see a bit of a nerf. We do get 2 charges, but it only reduces all damage by 30% instead of 40% that was in Dragonflight. But keep in mind, Dragonflight, you had to pick either it was a shorter cooldown or it was a beefier cooldown. So now you kind of get the best of both worlds, because it used to be a base 20%, and then you picked your point to either make it longer or lower the cooldown or make it stronger. So now you get kind of both of those. So this is honestly a huge win for us. So we're going to put that point in Lone Survivor, and this is actually one of the first things that's going to help us do more damage. The first one was Improved Kill Shot. The next one's going to be Specialized Arsenal, and this is just a passive, and it's going to increase our aim shot damage by 10%, and this changes based on what spec you are in Hunter. So I think it's Kill Command maybe for Beast Mastery, and then I think it's like Wildfire Bombs for Survival. So now we have another point that we can spend that will do Damage Forge, which is going to be Explosive Shot. And the way it's panning out right now, you're going to run with Explosive Shot for both single target and for AoE. It's right there, dead center in the middle of the tree. It's super easy to get to, which I really do appreciate as well. And then over here, I do want to pick up that Binding Shot, and I also want to pick up Intimidation because of this ability here. So I need to spend points on one of these 3 things. Either Disruptive Rounds, which whenever you successfully trank shot or use your counter shot to interrupt, you get 10 focus back. This ability used to just be called Improved Trank Shot, which would give you 10 focus back when you effectively dispelled something with Trank. Well, now you get it with Counter Shot as well. It's either that or Misdirecting to your pet. No hard feelings, but I'm probably not going to pick you. And then Scout's Instincts, you cannot be slowed below 80% of your normal movement speed while Aspect is active. That's going to be more of a PvP ability. It might have some PvE uses. You're going to see a lot more PvP stuff kind of baked in down here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and pick my Disruptive Rounds, which will allow me to pick my Binding Shot. And then over here, I had mentioned it earlier, I'm going to go ahead and pick Intimidation. It's a 1-minute cooldown that has a stun for 5 seconds. But you're probably asking, but you don't have a pet. And this was actually something that I had wished for, and I got my wish. This is actually amazing. I called my shot, if you will. So now they added an ability called Territorial Instincts. It's also a passive, and whenever you use your Intimidation, you can now cast it without a pet. So maybe my pet comes out of nowhere and just intimidates my target, but it also stuns 2 additional nearby enemies for 50% of effectiveness. So it's going to stun them for 2.5 seconds. That is a huge win, and it gives us a true hard CC that we can help our group with priority targets for both raid, if there's like trash, that sort of thing, and for AoE and Mythic Plus. So I'll put my point there. I have 2 more points that I need to spend to start unlocking Death Chakram. And I do appreciate this here as well. So you don't have to pick the ones right above Death Chakram to get down to it. I do appreciate that, and that's a lot of easier access, which allows us to have so many points afterwards. So here, we've got a bunch of stuff to choose from. Scrappy, which when you cast your aim shot, reduces the remaining cooldown of Intimidation or Binding Shot by half a second each. It's not bad, but I'm probably not going to pick it, but it's definitely situational and could definitely change. We have this 2-pointer here. There's 2 2-pointers on both sides of Explosive Shot. One's called Trigger Finger. You and your pet have a 2.5% increased attack speed, and that effect is increased by 100% if you don't have an active pet. So that means for a Marksman Hunter with Lone Wolf, you get 5%. So it's 2 points. So there you go. So it's going to be a total of 5% increased attack speed for you and your pet. And if you're a Marksman Hunter with Lone Wolf, boom, now it's 10%. And since it's attack speed and not haste, you're going to get, it's never going to get diminished returned, which, again, I really appreciate that there. Here, this is the funniest thing I've seen. This has to be a joke or something. You guys know me, I don't like Steel Trap. Steel Trap is not an ability that I like to use. I think it's clunky, and it's just not fun for me. Well, they completely neutered it in War Within. I don't even know why this is on the tree. It does basically 1k DPS. It's a bleed over 20 seconds, and it causes them to bleed for 20k damage over 20 seconds. To give you an idea, let's go over here to what will eventually, you can see the Serpent Sting information. Serpent Sting will do 102k over 18 seconds, and this guy, which gets applied automatically, and this guy that you have to use a GCD on every 30 seconds, I don't even think it's worth that. Even off all the buffs that you get from your bleeds and your dots and your damage over time abilities like that, it doesn't really do anything. Because of that, oh, by the way, it also does less than the thing that basically is there just to knock people back, which I found hilarious. Like literally, DPS wise, High Explosive Trap actually does more damage than Steel Trap. Very interesting there, Blizzard. I don't know if that's a mistake or not, but I definitely submitted a report on that. I'm going to hold off on putting points in Keen Eyesight right now. And then I have tar-coated bindings, which increases the binding shot stun duration by an additional second. So that means you get a 4-second stun. For 2 points, you get a 4-second stun instead of a 3-second stun. I don't know how I feel about that. That's probably not worth it. The other option over here is Bursting Shot or Scatter Shot. Thank you, Blizzard, for moving Bursting Shot from the marksman specific side of the tree over here to the hunter side, where it honestly belongs. It allows us to, it gives us more utility in our group. It helps us move enemies around. It can also help you proc your your explosive trap, for example, if you had both of those up. So I have 10 points, and you guys see I've unlocked that, so now I can move on to the bottom part of my tree. I have 3 choices, well, technically 4. Actually, no, I don't, because that one doesn't connect over here. So I have 3 choices to get down to Death Chakram. I need put a point in Trailblazer, I need to put a point in Binding Shackles, or put a point in Camouflage. I'm going to do 3 of those things. So I'm going to put a point in Camouflage first. That's definitely something that you can use in Mythic Plus, in an AoE, and it's maybe not as good in raid scenarios because you can't use Camouflage whenever you're in combat. So that is something to think about. But I would definitely put my point in Camouflage there because, like I said, we're not hurting for point spenders at all, and you'll see here in just a second. So if I put a point in Camouflage or put a point in Trailblazer, it means I have to put one more point in either one of these, and boom, I'm down to Death Chakram. So I put my point in Born to be Wild. This was 2 points in Dragonflight. It's now 1, like it should be, and it reduces the cooldown of Cheetah, Survival of the Fittest, and Turtle. 3 of your main abilities. 2 of those are your main defensives. And by the way, that Survival of the Fittest has 2 charges, so it's actually a very strong defensive now. So that's always good to see. And then that opens up Death Chakram, which does a little bit of damage, not a huge amount of damage, but it does make anything that gets hit by that death chakram take 10% more damage from you and your pet for 10 seconds. And that does bounce up to 7 times, so it will be continually refreshing that every time it bounces. And every time it does bounce, it increases the damage done by the chakram itself and gives you a little bit of focus. So that's going to be pretty good on all fronts for single target and for AoE. The beautiful thing about picking camouflage here is that it allows you to pick both of your main nodes at the bottom, and that's kind of like the big pick for me right now. And this other one is called an Unnatural Causes, and it's just a passive as well. All of my damage over time, my dot effects deal 10% more damage, including you up here, Steel Trap. And then it also means the effect is increased by 50% on targets below 20% health. So what that means is all of your dots, once you're at 20% or below 20% health on the enemy, will do 15% increased damage instead of the usual 10%. Which, by the way, when you're below 20% health, you're also stacking up that bullseye, which means you have more crit chance. And also, if you timed it up right and you kept your true shot up and your true shot's going up, so all of your dots are ticking, doing more damage, you're probably going to pick Hydra's Bite over here on this side, which means more dot damage. You're going to be, it's not really a dot cleave build, but you're definitely going to be doing a ton more damage with dots. And oh, by the way, Black Arrow is also a dot, so that's just something to think about there. All right. I've been on a lot of tangents. I need to stop that. All right, so I have 6 points, and these are the 6 points that I said earlier, is that you have 6 points that you can freely spend. My choice is Trailblazer. Trailblazer, I don't know why it's down here. It really should be up here. In fact, I don't know. I would put Trailblazer up here somewhere because not everyone was going to want to pick that, and I really don't feel like it needs to be down here near the bottom of the tree. But it will be good for, let's say you have a Razagath type encounter, right? And you have a large amount of room that you need to get to, like from point A to point B quickly. Well, and you can't attack anything either. Let's say something's taking 99% less damage, so it's not worth it to do any damage to it. Well, boom, there you go. This will help you dodge things maybe. This will help you stay alive, dodge those mechanics, dodge the Razagath breath, that sort of thing. Allows you to make up ground much faster. And then one of the last abilities that will increase your damage, in theory, is Serrated Tips. So you gain 5% more crit strike from crit strike sources. So instead of, for every 100 crit strike you have on your gear, you actually get 105. That's the main perk of that. Why not? We're going to be stacking crit. Oh, by the way, True Shot gives you crit. So it's a crit strike chance as well. So you should see some benefit there. And then we have 4 points left to spend. The Emergency Salve, in my opinion, is just really not worth it. I don't know. And maybe even in PvP it might be, but I don't know how. I guess this would maybe be good to get away from that pesky rogue. So you use your Feign Death to get rid of their crippling poison and all those poisons, if those are even still a thing. I haven't played a rogue in quite some time. I haven't done that Mage Tower yet. But the Emergency Salve is, in my opinion, just really not worth picking. So you have 4 points left to spend. My choice, there's 2 that would be over here, which is Keen Eyesight. It's just going to increase that crit strike chance by 2 and 4%. So you spend your 2 points there. You still have 2 points to spend. So I would put a point over here, just a movement speed increase by 4%. It's not much, but having a little bit faster movement speed can be the difference between a live hunter and a dead hunter. And then you have 1 point left to spend. You could put a point up here in either one of these tranquilizers. The first one is Kodo Tranquilizer, which it removes an additional magic effect. So unless you're in PvP or there's going to be a lot of dungeons that have multiple magic effects on the same mob, probably not worth taking. And then the same thing goes for Devil's Sword Tranquilizer. So this one's nice because if you successfully remove only an enrage effect, since Trank Shot removes both an enrage and a magic effect, you reduce the cooldown of your Trank Shot, which is 10 seconds, by 5 seconds. My question here though is, are we going to be seeing a lot of dungeons that are going to have something that you have to constantly be removing something. Maybe so, then this could be definitely situational. But as it sets right now, probably not worth taking, and I think I would put my value in either concussive shot maybe, or entrapment. And for the sake of this video and what I will be doing in my runs, will most likely be putting my point in entrapment. So whenever my tar trap is activated, because you guys, I told you, I promise, I'm going to try to start using tar trap better. It just roots them for 4 seconds, and you know, damaging does break those roots. Could also put it down here in tar coated bindings if you wanted to. The beautiful thing is though, is that you can put those anywhere. Like it's just strong. Like you can put that in Scare Beast if you wanted to. There's just options, and I appreciate options. Options are good for the health of a spec. Now this is just the hunter side, so meaning all 3 hunters have access to this. So there are some things that will be different for all 3 hunter specs, but this was all just from a marksman hunter point of view. And if I were to go into a Mythic Plus dungeon or a raid right now for single target, I would use this exact build, and I think that it's in a pretty decent spot. There's some things I'd like to see changed. There's some things that don't really make sense. Like, again, unless we're doing pure PvP, or unless we have some underrot shenanigans, or you're running a Brackenhide Hollow without like an alchemist, or without somebody who can get rid of disease effects, it's probably not worth it, and kind of odd that it's this far down. This would be immediately better, though, if it acted more like the legendary from Shadowlands. Whenever you feign death, it got rid of all the dots. That was kind of broken though in PvP, so I understand why it wouldn't be that anymore. But this is what I think for right now. Things will change. I know they will, and that's going to be completely fine. And I'm sure that you guys have some other opinions, and I would love to hear that. So I hope you guys will consider subscribing to my channel here on YouTube and follow me over at Twitch at twitch.tv/MrEggplant. I'd love to know your thoughts on the specific general hunter side of the tree. What do you think so far? What do you think should be changed? What could be moved around? What could be omitted entirely? What could maybe be added? I found a bunch of bugs so far today, and I've been trying to report those as quickly as I can. But my next video is going to be tackling this side of the tree over here. I've already got 2 different builds set up. I've got one for AoE and one for single target, and spoiler alert on that, they're pretty similar. So I like what I see, but there definitely needs to be some more improvements. And then this middle guy here, Dark Ranger versus Sentinel. Right now I'm definitely leaning towards Sentinel. Dark Ranger just doesn't do it for me just yet. But we'll tackle that here and probably a week or so. I need to do some testing and do some dungeons, do some heroics, that sort of thing. I've got some plans to do that. I hope I will be able to share those with you guys. But thank you for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel, and we're almost to 7,000 subscribers. That's absolutely amazing. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, and I will see you in the next video.